Are you looking for an athletic scholarship? You're in the right place. This is the Recruit Me Athletic Scholarship Podcast, the longest running podcast on recruiting and athletic scholarships. We're here to help your family navigate the recruiting road all the way to an athletic scholarship. He's a recruiting expert and a dad of a D1 athlete and a newly committed high school athlete that just received an athletic scholarship. He's got a wealth of experience to share. Here's Recruit Me CEO, Brent Hanks.
Welcome to episode 292 of the Athletic Scholarship Podcast. This episode is part 2 of an interview with the Givens family. Drew and Emily Givens are parents of Grant. Grant is a high school senior, class of 2022, and is committed to play basketball next year at Drury University in Springfield, Missouri. Drury is a member of the Great Lakes Valley Conference in the NCAA Division II level. This interview was split into 2 episodes and is a super honest and laid-back but informational interview with 2 parents and their son's recruitment and basketball journey. So let's get into part 2 of the interview with Drew and Emily about their experience and their son Grant's experience. In last week's episode 291, we covered the family's background in sports, their past recruiting experiences, Grant's journey through youth, high school, and club basketball, and how Grant flipped the switch to become a better player, and how club and high school coaches helped through their journey. In today's part of the interview, we cover camps, understanding the level of play, and understanding the possibility of playing as a freshman in college, how the family researched schools, emailed them information and videos, and we finish with some advice that Drew and Emily want to pass along to other families. Let's pick up this interview by finding out about Grant's recruitment and elite camps. And did you guys engage with any other schools? Were there any other schools in the mix? And you don't have to mention any names, but was Drury kind of the main one and the main focus? And once they kind of got on Grant, then that was kind of his decision.
We attended a few of the elite camps this past summer, and that's a great way to get your son or daughter in front of a coach. And so we kept the lines of communication with Twitter. That's the hot one right now with the college coaches.
Yep.
Obviously they get a million emails a day, so there was communication via email, but just Twitter, liking the stuff that the coaches put out or any camps that they were saying, come to. Grant would like that tweet. In return, we knew that they were somewhat interested in Grant when I would put out a highlight tape and then they would like it. So that's kind of, that they're sniffing around your athlete. So that's basically how they communicated. They didn't call the house phone. They never called Emily or I just to see what was going on. Because again, with COVID, recruiting was wonky. It was just a difficult time, honestly.
And so you kind of mentioned Twitter and finding out about some of the elite camps. And I talk a lot about baseball because both of my kids are involved more in baseball. I know a little bit about basketball, but so how are some other ways, or how were other ways that you found out about elite camps for him to go to, and how did you choose which ones to go to?
You want to stay somewhat local because typically your travel schedule with your club team is so hectic that, you want to take a weekend off and just go to 50 miles down the road, not 300 miles down the road.
Right.
So you kind of draw that imaginary circle around Joplin's, Rolla, Warrensburg. Again, this is what we did.
Yes.
So just kind of putting, personal touch to what we did. We stayed as close as possible, find out through other parents or players, that they attended this camp or that camp.
We also looked at what conference was for Division II. Grant is definitely a Division II player. So we looked at what conference Drury was in, and we knew between going down to Arkansas Tech all the way up to, Rockhurst, and then you go Warrensburg
right.
at Central Missouri. We really thought about the conference that Drury plays in, because that was the Division II school that we know the best, and thought about all those schools. And so, you go too far away, and these coaches haven't necessarily heard of you because you're too far away. And Division II coaches, they usually have a small staff. So
in this case, you mentioned, you guys knew about Drury and knew about their conference. Did you go on the website and kind of look at all the other teams in the conference and then kind of maybe do a little research on them? Or how did you go about maybe doing, getting ideas about some other schools that he might be interested in?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and again, I think as parents, you do have to kind of help your kid with understanding how to do this process, because they really don't know. And not necessarily that Drew and I know how it works in 2021. It's a different world than it was back in 1992 when I was being recruited. But I think yes. So we would sit down with Grant, we would do research on schools, see what he did and didn't like about those schools. Would it be someplace he'd want to play? And then we'd follow them on Twitter. I say we, but this is a team effort.
Yes.
So really, I'd like to say Grant, but it's a team effort.
Yes.
But so we would go through and like schools on Twitter, the coaches individually, the school programs individually. And then I feel like we would then go see if they had their own elite camps, sign up for those elite camps. We made Grant sit down and write emails. Like, think about an email that you would want to send to a coach. How do you get their attention? And they would say that, like, if you write me an email, I get so many emails a day, is what these coaches would tell us. You better make sure that it's something that's going to make me open it.
Yes.
And we would kind of look at each other going, well, what the heck is that? I mean, what do you say in that subject line that makes them open it when they're getting 300 emails a day from players saying, hey, love to play for you. And they said that that's what they get. I mean, it's insane. They're like, it's overwhelming. So how do you stand out? So, but Grant, wrote all these emails to the coaches and programs that he was interested in. And again, it takes a lot of time. And these kids just have to realize that unless you're that elite Division I athlete, that, again, in my thoughts and experience, I am not the expert by no means, but unless you are that elite Division I athlete, it's really hard to get noticed. Like, why do you stand out? Why are you good for their program? So you really have to be diligent. These kids have to work at it. Back in the day, I think that they used to be able to find the students maybe a little easier. Now these student athletes have to find the coaches. You have to help them see you. And so you've got to reach out. You've got to be on social media. You have to create little highlight reels and put it on social media so they can see. And again, you've got to do it quick. They're going to watch it for 10 seconds. So you better have some good shots, rebounds, and defense in that first 10 to 20 seconds. And because they're going to move on to the next kid to see if they like what they're doing.
Did you guys do your own videos as far as the videoing itself, or did you depend on like the school with Huddle, or a little bit of both?
Initially, we didn't have access to Huddle. So, and this is mainly in the summertime, I would film everything off my phone. And then I learned how to do iMovie from my, at the time, 14-year-old daughter. She helped me clip each weekend into about a 45 to a minute clip. And I would send it to Grant, and then Grant would tweet it out. I mean, by no means did I spend any money on a camera.
Both of us coming out of the car business.
Yes.
It's a lot like recruiting. I mean, you can sell a few cars by just sitting in your office waiting for somebody to come in, but you're going to sell the majority of the vehicles by going out and finding people that are interested in cars. And that's kind of what recruiting's like, isn't it?
Great. That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
I love that analogy.
I'm smarter than I look.
I'll tell you, you gotta work hard at it. I was telling Emily, I said, it's almost feels like it's becoming a full-time job. I'm clipping this stuff on a Friday night in Dallas, Texas, to get it out on Twitter next morning. I also helped our club team. I would clip a few each player, and then I would send it to the coach, and then he would put it on his Twitter page. Obviously, he has a lot more followers than Grant or I, but just getting our club team out, it just helps with basically branding. Just the more that you're out there and liking tweets from coaches at the level that you think you're going to play at, they know who you are.
Well, and it sounds like you guys set some parameters. You kind of figured out at a specified time kind of what level that Grant could kind of play at and what he wanted to do. And then you kind of focused in on some schools and then obviously narrowed it down. You only end up going to one college normally. I mean, obviously there's transfers and all this other stuff, but you initially just go to one college. So it sounds like you did a great job funneling down and getting help and using all the resources that you knew about to get Grant where he wants to go. And we're looking forward to seeing him play. It's fun to have local guys go to local colleges so you can kind of keep track of them.
And just looking at Grant's class, it looks like they have three local kids. And when I say local, 2 Springfield and 1 in Ava.
Yes, I just saw that. I'm
really excited. And I know just being at work, I have customers come up and say, hey, I'm going to start watching Drury basketball again because there's some kids that I can root for now. And so you take 3 local kids and, it turns a lot of positives into more positives, and attendance could be up, and, they got to win, but that's the start.
If you had a freshman family come up to you, or a freshman player come up to you, what advice, what are 1 or 2 things that you might advise them that maybe that you learned, or maybe that you did right throughout the recruiting process?
I have a couple, and I bet Emily does too. One of the conversations that I had with Grant, car ride back from wherever, you just say, I can't buy you a basketball game, or I can't buy you a volleyball game. You got to start putting in the work. It can't come from us. It's got to come from you. So that's number 1. Number 2, absolutely, your incoming freshman year, get into the weight room. You got to be around the boys. You got to be around your teammates. You got to be around the coaches. That's how you build culture. That's how you build a foundation of any sports program. Play as much as you can, whatever sport. Don't let somebody tell you that you can't play. Find another summer team. We ran into that in Grant's journey, and little disheartening, but you know what? It just kind of makes you a little tougher and stronger, really.
The old Michael Jordan, I'm going to find something that kind of makes me mad enough to go get it. So that's a good piece of advice.
Find somebody who appreciates you, who values you.
Yep, exactly. So Emily, did you have 1 or 2 things?
Yeah. I mean, I would just say that by the time you get to high school, you have to get to the point where you start specializing, especially as a boy. You have to play year round. I mean, you have to play year round, and you need time off to, heal your body, to get away from it. So you want to go back, but you have to play, and you have to be playing in games. You have to shoot on your own, and you have to be lifting so that you're strong, because there's always somebody stronger, faster, and that's shooting more than you. So you have to be ready. So year-round playing. And number 2, you got to find those, I think, like teammates who also help to build you up. Teammates and coaches, like if it's on your club team, and even if it's on your high school team. But with our club team, my gosh, we were with them for 4 months, pretty much straight, from April through the early August. And I think you need other people outside of just your regular high school team. I think that will help build you up and tell you that, you weren't good today, but here's what you can do to do better. And just honestly, you're hearing it from all sides that, you can be good if you do this. Because sometimes I think, parents, they stop listening to parents because we say the same things all the time. So, you could say, Brent, you could say the exact same thing to Grant that Drew and I say, and he will listen to you. And because at this point, he's muted us out.
Yeah, I've got 2 of them just like that.
Yeah. And that's just how it works. And I think it works with most kids. But I think it's having other people telling them that you need to do this and you need to do that. And I just think it's, they need to hear the positives. I think, these kids have to be loved on. They got to be pushed, but you also got to love on them a lot. So as hard as you're pushing on them, you also got to love on them. So there are club coaches out there and high school coaches that'll do both. And so I think they just, you can't be beaten down to a pulp without ever being told what your positives are. So you've also got to be told like how you are excelling. So it's no different than anybody in the workforce. If you're always told you're terrible, or you're always told that you're never going to be good enough, well, you just get downtrodden. I mean, it's just, so you got to find those people, and those people are out there, and there's plenty of club teams, and maybe you won't be on the one you want, but maybe that's actually not the one you're meant to be on.
And that's the same thing you've got to go search for when you commit to a college. You want to go and try to find a program and go to games and kind of see how the coach and the coaching staff, how they do stuff in both practice and in games, because you got another 4-year contract coming up too. So that's part of the relationship that you have to work hard. That's why the biggest program is not always the best, because it may not fit your personality or your style of play. So that's
so true.
Yeah,
that's so true. I mean, like, and a lot of people think like, I just want to go D1. I just want to be in that, down that road. And I mean, gosh, that's a lot of kids' dreams. I get that. I completely get it. At the same time, maybe it's also great to be in Division II, where you can play more, you can win that national championship, you can get that conference title. You just want to be happy with your team. You want to feel like you are the best that you can be when you get to college. College is hard, man. It is. You are worked harder than you will ever think you're going to be worked. So it's competitive, because everybody's an all-star on that team. Yes, there's a lot of egos usually that come in, and then all of a sudden you get thrown down a couple notches.
Yep.
It's rare a day whenever you've got a freshman starting on a college team. And if you are, then you're probably something special, but it's 100%. Like it's tough.
Is that something that you've talked to Grant about? Are you ready to sit the bench for a little while, or
We are.
And we talked to Parker about that. It's like, hey, you're going to go play Division I baseball. You may not get to pitch very much, and luckily
Right.
he did. But we found a match that fit him. But we were mentally ready for him to not play very much.
Exactly. And we've talked to Grant about it. We said, you may not even play your freshman year. You have to get bigger. You have to get stronger. You have to get faster. And he's aware of it. And, and a kid can say, I know, that's okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And until you work and work and work in preseason, during season, postseason, and you don't see the floor, you don't realize how hard mentally that is. And so, he says he's prepared for it.
The speed of the game at high school where Grant plays at Glendale, that's a pretty high level basketball for high school. The speed of the game for the clubs that he played for, I know, were pretty high level. And then he's been close to ball games at Drury and Missouri State and stuff where he sees the size and the speed. So he's got a good idea of what he's getting into. It's not going to be going in blind.
Right. I don't think he'll be going in blind, but I do think that it's going to be a little bit of a shock. It is a lot faster of a game. I mean, when we watch these games, it's like, oh man, you got to have a quicker release than you've ever had. You got to run the floor harder than you ever have. But, I think about going back to playing Division I. There were things that we were working on in college that it seems like you should have mastered by the time you're in a Division I program.
Mm-hmm.
And we, help side defense. That seems silly. You're still trying to master help side defense, press breaks.
Yes.
All of these things that's like, don't you have that figured out? And no, you don't. So it's going to be a good wake up call, and I'm excited for him. I'm excited for him to learn and get better and grow. But we have prepared him for the idea that you may not play till your junior year. But
those other 6-7 guys are strong too, and they're men because he's going to be going against 20-year-olds.
Yes,
And well, we're looking forward to it. Parker's got a buddy that's playing at SBU, Quinn Nelson. And I went up and watched him play the other night, and Quinn made a great choice by going to that level, the Drury SBU level, and he's, he got in there and he's, I think, broke a record and stuff. So
wow.
So, it's fun to watch those local kids go and do what they're doing. Forrest Barnes, and another buddy of ours, is playing at Missouri State in baseball, and he's finishing in his senior year. And so it's fun to watch those local kids go. And I hope people do come out and support not only Grant, but the other kids that are going to Drury and help build that program. And you mentioned facilities earlier. When you're considering stuff, a facility is a big deal, and even the conference that you're playing in, the type of places that you're going to go play is kind of fun. So I'm glad you guys looked at that. That's kind of a neat deal. The Panthers are a cool mascot, and the colors are cool too. So that's neat.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Exactly. Thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate you guys taking some time, and if any ideas come up, we'll get you back on sometime, and maybe in a year or two when Grant's a couple years in, we'll try to, and I'm still doing this, we'll try to pass some more information along to people and try to help them get recruited. And again, hearing from somebody other than me is very impactful for other families that are listening to this all over the country, actually. To try to say, hey, we're in their shoes. Let's see if we can use some of their advice. So we appreciate that.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you having us on. And it's a long journey. It's a hard journey. It's a team effort. And we're just very thankful that it ended the way it did. And we're excited for his future. And thanks for your support.
Don't forget about the Recruit Me 3.0 Athletic Scholarship System and the QR Recruiter Draft Tag Combo Special. Go to the show notes and click on the Recruit Me 3.0 Athletic Scholarship System link. Listen on your favorite podcast app next Tuesday or on recruit-me.com by clicking on the Recruit Me podcast tab. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.